All right, we're here with Mike Calloway, one of my old buddies from
Good.
years and years ago.
Good to see you, Michael.
How you doing?
I'm good, man.
It's great. It's great to be here with you folks. Bass and harmonica.
Yep.
Uh, Tell us where you live now.
Live in Chestertown, Maryland, on the Delmarva Peninsula.
On the Delmarva Peninsula.
Yeah, across on the other side of the bay from Annapolis.
Yeah, that's pretty over there. A lot of good seafood.
Yep.
Crab,
Expensive.
crabs as common as corn on the cob down here.
Yep.
It's beautiful up there. Last time I saw you was in Florida, though. I think
Yeah, well, us Army brats move around. We're kind of nomadic.
it's in the water, right?
Yep.
So what years were you in Germany?
I went to the 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, 62 to 65, and then was in the Frankfurt area, 68 to 71. I graduated from Frankfurt American High School in 71.
And your dad was Army?
Army, he worked in aviation. He was a helicopter crew chief.
Uh-huh. And you have a military history yourself.
I joined the Army, see the world. I did 21 years in Washington, D.C.
And tell us what you did in Washington, D.C.
I spent 3.5 years in the Honor Guard.
At the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
I did a little over a year as a guard and the commander of the relief at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. I worked for 2.5 years for the Chief of Public Affairs at the Pentagon. And then I spent right around 16 years with the United States Army Band, Pershing's Own. They're just adjacent to Arlington National Cemetery.
And you've got a whole history of booking tours all over Europe for American bands and choral groups and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, that was a follow-up. At the Army Band, I was the Director of Public Affairs, Production, and Tours. So I took the Army Band all over the United States and Canada. We did a tour to the Netherlands, did one in Scandinavia. And then when I retired, I joined in partnership with a couple of guys, and we started a tour company and took mostly high school and junior high groups on musical tours of Europe. We do the history stuff, but also set up concerts for them in town squares and things like that. Pretty interesting.
A lot of traveling.
A lot of traveling. I know how to pack a suitcase.
And how to get it through the airlines.
There you go.
Which band were you in when you were in the high school?
I was in probably 5 different bands, but with this group, it was the last band I played with in high school, George and the Rockets. I was in the second version of George and the Rockets. But before that, I'd played in a group called the Sound Pounders, then Crosstown Traffic, then a group called Smack, then a group called Trilogy, and then George and the Rockets.
So who were the members in George and the Rockets when you were in? What guys?
David Bach, Kerry on keyboards, Kerry Lunsford on drums, Jay Marciano, who can't be with us here today, on guitar. Lee Whitaker played percussion, just alternate percussion, timbales and tambourine and whatever else to fill in. And a guy named Sack German, and I don't remember his nationality, but he was also a karate triple black belt or something. But that was our lineup.
How did you connect with these guys? How did you wind up being in the band?
Well, I lived in the same town as the Passarelli brothers. Frankfurt American High School, there's about a 50-mile radius around Frankfurt that went to that school. So we had our hometown group, and then we had people that we went to high school with. The drummer, Kerry Lunsford, was in one of my classes, and their bass player, I think his dad got transferred out, which is often happened with us kids. And Kerry said, I know you're a musician. I've heard you play before, but you play guitar. Do you play any bass? And I said, well, yeah, I can play bass. And he
Were you
said,
playing harp at that time too?
no, I didn't start playing harp until I broke this hand. Uh, but he asked me to come and try out for the band, and I tried out for the band, and they said, "You're in."
And you guys played a lot of teen clubs and
Teen
NCO
clubs
clubs and officers
we
clubs and
played
wherever.
the last gig we played was a junior high school reunion on June 5th of 1971, if my memory serves me correctly. We played for some embassy kids at one thing, but it was mostly the American teen clubs around the Frankfurt area.
Have you stayed in contact with many of these guys throughout the years?
Oh yeah, actually, that one of the guys that was in Poor Man's Children, he and I were almost next door neighbors. He lived across the street from me, Fred Weems, and he can't be here because he had a heart attack.
Oh, goodness. I hope he's okay.
Oh, he's doing fine. He's going to have some surgery here soon.
So have you been in any, how many reunions have you been to?
I've probably been to 4 or 5 over the years. The last one I was at was in Portland, and another group that the Pazzaroli brothers were in, the Naked Truth, the Pazzaroli brothers and the drummer Kerry Lunsford. They were the band at that reunion, and they asked me if I would come and sit in on a couple of songs. So I played guitar on a couple of songs, I played bass on a couple of songs, and played harmonica on a couple of songs. And my wife, Mary Ann, and I sang Mustang Sally at that reunion.
And Mary Ann's here with us this weekend.
Oh,
right?
yes.
It'd be great to see her.
Don't
again.
leave home without her.
No, I wouldn't either if I were you. She's a great gal. You were a lucky man. What was the music scene like around in Frankfurt when you were there? What do you remember about it?
Well, again, it was very revolving because of the nature of the military and our dads being transferred. So there was always somebody leaving a band, and there was always openings. There were a lot of bands because that was something to do, and it was something we all enjoyed. I mean, we didn't have the 6 years that we were in Germany, we had no TV.
Right.
So
Now there's an eye opener.
Oh yeah. So we listened to Radio Luxembourg and the I can't remember the name of it, the pirate ship radio station that was up and active for a while on the radio. It was interesting.
Through the base exchanges and the post exchanges, you could get about any record that was out, I imagine. Though.
Oh yeah, and of course the German on the economy in the German market. If you couldn't find it in the PX or the BX, you could go downtown and find it.
Did you play many places off base?
Oh yeah, I played quite a few places off base. My group Smack played a local club called Club Studio Luxembourg in Hanau quite a few times.
How did the Germans react to American bands?
Oh, they loved us.
I imagine.
Oh, they loved us. When we started playing at the Club Studio Luxembourg, they actually had a band cancel, and I'd been in there and talked to the guys about us going in there and playing, and they said, well, we're booked up solid. And I said, well, if you need somebody sometime, call me. And they called our home phone, and my mom answered, and I wasn't home, and she said, these guys come from this club downtown called, and they want you to call them back. And I called them and said, are you guys available tomorrow night? We've had a band cancel. And we went and played, and the agreement was it was an audition, so we got no pay. You were filling in, and it was an opportunity, so we took it. And when we finished playing, the owner said, we want you back. So he booked us for the next 3 or 4 weekends, either Friday or Saturday night. And that next night that we played there were people standing in line outside waiting because the word had gotten around to this new American band, and we'd put posters up, and it said top American band for the first time in Germany. So that got their attention.
Yeah. So what's been your musical history other than booking and all that stuff and working with the Army bands and stuff? You still playing music, right?
Yeah, off and on. I'm not a professional musician. I've played it more or less as a hobby most of my life. And in my adult life, there were years I didn't pick up an instrument at all because I was just invested in my Army career.
Right.
So, but actually last band I played in was about 9, 10 years ago. Uh, I worked at the French International School in Washington, and as a director of facility safety and security. And we had a new guy come in to be the director of the preschool and kindergarten, and he came in to meet me, and I had a little Gibson play toy model guitar about this big sitting on my desk, and he said, "Are you a musician?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, I play a little bit. Let's get together." So we put together a two-man band. We called it 002. And I played guitar and sang, and Philippe played keyboards and bass and guitar, and we used backing tracks to back us up. And we did a couple of gigs at the French Embassy. We played at the Austrian Embassy. We played a bunch of parties. We did a fundraiser for the Haitian when Haiti had the big earthquake.
Yeah.
A couple of our teachers were Haitian, and one of them was doing his fundraiser and asked us if we'd play, so we went and played for her fundraiser. We played probably over the course of the 2 years that we were together. We probably played a dozen and a half gigs. We always played for free. We just enjoyed playing. The only money we ever played, we were playing for a private party, and some guy came up and said, "I've heard you guys a couple of times. How much do you make doing this?" And I looked at him. I said, "We've never been paid. We just enjoy what we're doing." He pulled out his wallet and gave me and Philippe a $50 bill each.
Well, you can't beat that.
No.
It's nice to be appreciated. Here's a parting question. What do you see as the future of rock and roll in America?
Rock and roll has shifted and lifted fire. It's changed dramatically. But I think there's enough of us old geezers around to bring it back. I mean, here we are, a bunch of used to be teenagers, 50 years later getting together, playing some rock and roll. So I think there's enough of it around, and it's like anything in the arts. It's going to evolve, and it's going to change, and we may not agree with it. We may not even like it, but
music's never been static.
No.
My uncle was a bass player with Grand Ole Opry bands. He was with. I've heard since I was 10 years old. This stuff they're playing now can't be country music. Rock and roll's the same. This stuff they're playing now is not rock and roll. But it was never static. Music never. Popular music never stands still. There's always somebody taking it somewhere else.
Oh, I know, and kind of stretching the genre, as Americans say.
There are about 10 million guitars sold in America every year, so I guess there's going to be something going on.
Yep. And I've got a little local story that I think it's important to my history. When I was 5, 6 years old in Spruce Pine, North Carolina, my dad would take me to the same barber shop to get my hair cut. And on Saturdays on the street corner in Spruce Pine, North Carolina, there was this blind guy sat on the corner with his tin cup, and back then they had a tin cup with some pencils in it, and they played and sang, and you'd leave a tip and take a pencil if you wanted it. Doc Watson. And to this day, I remember that music and how it stirred my soul. I mean, it was just heart-wrenching, beautiful. And it's something I'll never forget. The barber would always say, "Would you sit still?" I'd sit there and bounce to the music.
Well, we sure look forward to hearing you guys on Wednesday night, and welcome home.
Thank you, Michael.
Spruce Pine's just right over there.
It's right down the road. I've got probably 30 cousins that live in these mountains, so I'm looking forward to seeing some of them too.